Howdy, all. Welcome on into Goose Talks Film. I'm your host, of course, Goose, and today we are reviewing the Fantastic Four First Steps. This is a weekly review podcast, but we're all over the place currently. I'm just posting when I can, so I do appreciate people that are still supporting, even though the drops haven't really happened on Friday and Sundays like they did a while back. It's kind of been when I can get episodes out there. I currently went away, then also like with two kids now, it's a bit different as opposed to, this time last year, but we are reviewing Fantastic Four First Steps, as I said. As you always do here on Goose Talks Film, I will not be revealing any spoilers for the first little portion. I'll give you a fair warning multiple times when I will be spoiling the shit out of this film. It is, of course, the fourth big screen adaptation of the Fantastic Four. Obviously, you have the original film starring Jon Griffith and Jessica Alba from 05-07, also starring Chris Evans and Michael Chiklis. Then you have the 2015 masterpiece by Josh Trank, starring Miles Teller, Kate Mara, and others as well. That was an abomination of a film. I remember I tried to stick up for that movie when it first came out, and I saw it at the movies, and I'm like, you know what? I, for some reason, bought the Blu-ray. I think because it was literally getting thrown out, no joke, at a local store here that used to be here called Sanity. It had already been out for 3 weeks out on disc. 10 years ago it was different. A lot of people still rushed out and got Blu-rays and all that upon release, like I did. And I got it for like $12 after 3 weeks of being out. And I'm like, you know what? I'll rewatch it, see if it's worse than what I thought. And it was. On the rewatch, it was just terrible. But I do not have those feelings with Fantastic Four First Steps. Of course, directed by Matt Shakman. I think I pronounced it right. Josh Shakman, yep. Written by multiple people. It is Marvel's third film of the year behind Thunderbolts and Captain America, which I have not seen Captain America, and I have seen Thunderbolts. I thought it was okay. Thought it was very predictable. Whereas this, Fantastic Four First Steps, I feel as though I'm going to stop calling it What's Four, now I'm just going to call it Fantastic Four. Just much easier. You know why you're here. You know why you're listening. I didn't think that. Well, look, some of it was probably predictable. Some of it was revealed in the trailers and blah blah blah. But overall, I'd say it's not an overly predictable film. Some things that are predictable are good. Like it means that it's telling you enough. It's foreshadowing enough. It's written good that it's telling you, yeah, this is our story. This is where we're going to get to. Blah blah. That's good. And obviously, you want surprises here and there, and how maybe you get to that final outcome is a surprise, or maybe the final outcome itself is a surprise. Whatever that be, I think Fantastic Four had a good balance of that. I recently reviewed Superman last week, and thanks to everyone for all the views / listens. That's like broken all my records here on Goose Talks Film. I really do appreciate it. And yes, not everyone, certainly on YouTube, it is quite different, I find, on podcasting platforms, where like my percentage of people that click onto the podcast and start listening to it, they actually listen to at least 90% or the entirety of that episode. I think my percentage is currently at 91%. So only 9% of people that click onto the podcast switch off without getting even close to finishing the podcast, which that's a huge stat for me. I really do appreciate all the love for that. I know this is about Fantastic Four. I'm not trying to start any tribalism between Marvel and DC, but just wanted to take the opportunity. It was released pretty much exactly a week ago, that podcast episode. So if you did listen to that, and I really do appreciate all the love that I've received from that episode. It's by far my longest episode. Goes for like just under an hour, I think, if not an hour. So I really do appreciate all the love. And yeah, thank you so much for all the new follows over on YouTube and all the new subscribers / followers on any podcasting platform you listen to. Anyway, get all that house cleaning out of the way. But yeah, the short synopsis for Fantastic Four First Steps reads, forced to balance their roles as heroes with the strength of their family bond, the Fantastic Four must defend Earth from a ravenous space god called Galactus and his enigmatic Herald, Silver Surfer. Now, we saw the reveal of the Silver Surfer in the trailer. We didn't really see the reveal of Galactus, which I thought was really good. That was expected. I think that's kind of the good thing of having multiple villains, or having a henchman or a right-hand man or a right-hand woman to the main villain, is you can reveal them without having to reveal the villain. Like, it'll show enough in the trailer to think, oh yeah, I want to see that bad guy get beaten up, or I want to see that bad guy have a redemption arc. So yeah, he's still being shown enough without being shown the full picture. I think that's the good thing. There are negatives, don't get me wrong, Spider-Man 3. But there is some positives in having multiple villains. If they're part of the same team or they're not working together, whatever that be, this does work. Obviously, Silver Surfer is Galactus's Herald. And of course, yeah, she's the one that warns Earth that they're going to be overtaken by Galactus, etc., etc. That's all I'll really say about that without giving away any spoilers. We'll talk about the cast. Pedro Pascal is probably the only, I want to say, household name of this cast. Definitely not only household name, but just face recognizable recognizability. Yeah, we'll just go with that word. I probably won't be able to say that word again, but he's definitely he's forefront of this. Although in the poster I'm looking at currently, the Thing is kind of poised as like the main character. Like obviously he's bigger, but he's dead center, like to the bottom a bit, and he's just larger than the other three. And I don't think that's to do with size because he's actually not that much bigger than the others in this film. But obviously, you have Ebon Moss Backrack. I think that's how you pronounce that. From The Bear, I know him from The Bear, of course, like a lot of people do. He's been in quite a bit. But that's probably his breakout role. He's won multiple awards, and he is fantastic in that. Then you have Vanessa Kirby, who of course plays Sue Storm, or Mrs. Fantastic. She's had quite a big career in TV and film. Probably maybe more well known in TV, but a lot of people probably recognise her by her face as opposed to her name. Then you have the most, I don't want to say inexperienced because that's kind of I don't know, comes off a bit negative, but the youngest and who is still building their career is Joseph Quinn. A lot of people recently would know him from A Quiet Place, Day One, I think it was called. He was really good in that. I didn't really overly enjoy the film as much, but I thought he was very, very good. I mean, I thought Lupita Nyong'o was really good as well. I thought the acting in general was really good. I thought the film was a bit lackluster, but I mean, I obviously have loved him since Stranger Things. He obviously plays Eddie from Stranger Things. That changed his career, that show, like it does with a lot of actors, and will do for this last season as well. Landing this role was huge for him. I mean, Johnny is a much beloved character. A lot of people love Chris Evans' performance as him. So Michael B. Jordan's not so much, but that whole movie was just garbage. And then you have Ralph Ineson, who voices also did the motion capture and the voice for Galactus. Incredible choice. I mean, he's not a household name, but he's quite popular in Britain, obviously being British himself. I know him from The Last Kingdom, but he's been in a lot of stuff. But he is quite a scene stealer. I think he actually, when he was younger, he was in From Hell, which is the Johnny Depp Jack the Ripper movie, which I love. So I've known of him for quite a while. You have Natasha Lyonne. She's been in a lot of stuff, but a lot of people love her and know her from Orange is the New Black. You have Julia Garner, who's become huge, obviously from Ozark, but also one of my favourite performances in horror last year. Maybe if not one of my favourite performances in general last year was Apartment 7A, the Rosemary's Baby prequel. I thought she was just amazing in that film. And I thought that she was good casting as Silver Surfer. At first, I thought, did they have to make her a woman? But then I was not educated enough that they have done the female version of Silver Surfer in the comics. Me, myself, I would call myself a Marvel fan in terms of the comics. I am a DC guy through and through. I grew up reading DC, watching all the DC movies and shows. But I also did with Marvel, but I always just kind of went towards DC more, with Jonah Hex being my favourite comic book character of all time and being from DC. And a lot of my top 5 would be filled out by either Dark Horse DC. I think probably Daredevil would be the only Marvel character in my top 5 in terms of comic book characters from the comics. I mean, reading the comics, you know what I mean? So and then you have Paul Walter Hauser plays, I think he's a mole or something like that. Yeah, he's got a small little funny role. But again, without getting into spoilers, I think the casting was good. I think the casting of everyone was really good. I thought performances were all good. Pedro's Mr. Fantastic, for me, left a lot to be desired. It's not how I picture Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. I think, look, I'm not saying Jon Griffith's performance was amazing or like even better, but I thought the way that he balance his intelligence, and also, we see him and Jessica Alba kind of fall in love. Blah, blah. Well, that's already done in this. This is set 4 years after they get their powers and whatnot, which I think is great to not have origins. That it's briefly touched on, but we all know what happens with the Fantastic Four. It's a bit like Batman and Superman. We're kind of past seeing the origins, unless you're going to do something drastically different, which I would not recommend. It just defeats the purpose. Just do another character if you want to change the origins. But yeah, I think Pedro. A lot of people are saying his his character, his performance of the character was whiny and blah blah blah. Look, I don't want to use anything too negative. It didn't feel like Reed Richards to me. Like how he spoke and some of that comes to dialogue, obviously from the screenplay. So it's not all just on him, but it's how he carries himself and just the overall performance just didn't scream Reed Richards. I think the performance within itself was quite good, but as Reed Richards, it didn't hit for me, unfortunately. And I don't want to jump on the Pedro Pascal hate train. That's just not what I'm doing. I'm just looking at the individual performances and how they fit into the bigger picture of the film. Like I said, the performance was good. It's just Reed Richards that just wasn't it for me, unfortunately. I think Vanessa Kirby's Sue Storm, again, didn't scream Sue Storm to me, but I thought that it was close enough to fit the picture. Johnny and The Thing, I thought were great. Like that, those were those two characters to me. I think they were, I wouldn't say they're flawless, but maybe flawless in terms of them being the characters and doing their own twist on the character without it shying too far away from the source material, which I think is what Pedro did, along with the writing as well. Like I said, it's not just all him. But in terms of performances, I didn't think there was a shitty performance in this film at all. I think the great casting overall, Pedro's not who I would have cast, but like I said, he doesn't ruin the film by any stretch of the imagination. Thought the best part of this film, and I'm not saying that visual effects, make movies better or worse and they're the be-all, end-all, but the highlight of this film, I think the best thing was definitely the visual effects. That includes how Galactus is shown on screen and the whole perspective of him as opposed to everyone else, like Silver Surfer and whatnot. The action scenes were quite good. There wasn't heaps of action scenes, but I think of what they did show, I thought it was enough to keep me intrigued for most. I was probably bored in a few parts here and there, but I thought the visuals were great. I thought the Thing looks as good as the Thing can do, can look. I'm trying to speak English here. I think the Thing looked really, really good. It's CGI. I think CGI is a better choice than practical for the Thing, as opposed to Baraka and Mortal Kombat. I think practical effects / makeup is a much better choice than CGI for Baraka. But the Thing, I think CGI is the way to go for sure. Certainly, we have a budget of $200 million plus, which this film did have. But yeah, that's probably all for the spoiler-free territory. So this is your warning. As we will jump into the full synopsis and everything that will happen, and it will be spoiled through the arsehole. So if you don't want this movie spoiled, pause it here, go watch the film, come back, listen to it, see if you agree with my opinions and whatnot, and let me know if you do or you don't. Okay, so that is your spoiler warning. So yes, as we always do here on Goose Talks Film, I do read the full plot synopsis with spoilers riddled all the way through. So please bear with me. It's quite a chunky boy. It's not too big, but please bear with me. In 1960, on Earth 828, astronauts Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, and Johnny Storm embarked on a mission into outer space, during which they gained superhuman abilities from exposure to cosmic rays. Upon returning to Earth, they became the superhero team known as the Fantastic Four. 4 years later, the Fantastic Four have become celebrities and are regarded as the world's protectors, engaging in philanthropic diplomatic efforts through the Future Foundation. During a family dinner, Reed and Sue revealed to Ben and Johnny that they are expecting a child. A few months later, the Silver Surfer appears and announces to the people of Earth that their planet has been marked for destruction by a cosmic being known as Galactus. Reed studies numerous anomalies involving the disappearance of planets that confirm the Surfer's claims. and the team decides to try and negotiate Earth's fate with Galactus. Tracking the Silver Surfer's energy signature, the team uses faster-than-light travel to reach a distant star system. Upon arrival, a nearby planet is destroyed by Galactus, and the team is captured. They meet Galactus, who explains his insatiable hunger has driven him to consume worlds for eons. He senses that Reed and Sue's unborn son possesses immense cosmic power that could free him of this hunger. Galactus offers to spare Earth in exchange for the child and causes Sue to go into labor. The team refuses and escapes through a black hole, delaying their pursuers. During the return journey, Sue gives birth to her son, Franklin. The Fantastic Four return to Earth, and Reed reveals the details of their encounter during a press conference. Their decision to save one child over billions leads to public outcry, with many calling for Franklin to be sacrificed. Based on his interactions with the Silver Surfer and deep space transmissions Reed received from her planet and others Galactus has destroyed, Johnny begins deciphering the Surfer's native language. As Galactus draws near and protests escalate, Sue confronts the demonstrators with Franklin in her arms. She explains they will not give up their child, but also won't give up on humanity, restoring public faith in the team. Reed devises a plan to build teleportation bridges across Earth to move the planet to a solar system beyond Galactus' reach. Through the Future Foundation, Sue organizes the world's nations to construct the bridges and conserve the energy to activate them. As the bridges are nearly ready, the Silver Surfer returns and begins destroying them. Johnny stops her from destroying the last bridge in Times Square and, using her native language, identifies her as Shalabal. She reveals she became Galactus' Herald to spare her world, Zen-La. Johnny plays transmissions from planets she helped destroy, and a guilt-ridden Shalabal flees. Using Franklin as bait, the team plans to lure Galactus to the last bridge and teleport him away instead. Sue negotiates with Harvey Elder to evacuate the citizens of New York City to his underground city of Subterranea. This new plan fails, and Galactus seizes Franklin from the headquarters. Sue forces Galactus into the portal using her shield powers, while Reed rescues Franklin. When Sue begins to falter, Johnny prepares to sacrifice himself to push Galactus back in. Having a change of heart, Shalabal stops him and sacrifices herself instead. Galactus is consumed by the portal and cast into the void. Reed, Ben, and Johnny recover Sue, who has seemingly died after exhausting her powers. However, when Reed places Franklin on her chest, his newly awakened abilities resuscitate her. In the aftermath, the team is celebrated as heroes. In a mid-credits scene set 4 years later, Sue reads to Franklin in the Baxter Building. After stepping out to retrieve another book, she returns to find a green-cloaked man holding a metal mask, interacting with Franklin in their living room. Okay, so that is Fantastic Four, the first steps. And yeah, we might as well talk about that mid-credits scene at the end of the film. Doesn't reveal a lot. It's literally about a 20-second scene. But as Marvel does, as opposed to kind of DC and what Gunn's doing, where he does kind of funny scenes that don't really lead to anything. Marvel's still kind of sticking to what they do. Obviously revealing Doctor Doom, who we know is played by Robert Downey Jr., which I'm still kind of bummed about that casting. I don't hate it. I'm just kind of bummed by it when they first announced it. I thought, that's a bit of too of a safe option, unfortunately. And rest in peace to Julian McMahon, of course. The not the original because you have the unaired Fantastic Four, but to me, he's the original and the best Doctor Doom so far. So yeah, rest in peace to Julian McMahon, who obviously is an Australian actor and from Nip Tuck. A lot of people would know him from either FBI recently, which he left a few seasons ago, or of course playing Doctor Doom in Fantastic Four. So rest in peace to him. So Doctor Doom's revealed. He's obviously going to be the main villain of Avengers Doomsday, and it does say at the end credits, well, just before the end credits start, that the Fantastic Four will return in Avengers Doomsday. So that's obviously going to be their next appearance. So we think. I don't see them appearing before then. I kind of don't think that that's a swerve or anything. I think that's generally when they're going to appear again. Talking about the end with Sue, that was a really cool scene where she's pushing Galactus with her force field abilities into the wormhole, black hole, whatever you want to call it. It seems really OP to me. I don't know. I'm not saying that she doesn't. Like I said, I am not a Fantastic Four comic reader. I have read a few stories, maybe a few issues, and I think I've read 1 or 2 graphic novels a long time ago. So I am not well adversed and super knowledgeable, but to me it seemed like she was very OP, like overpowered. Um, that you know what I got from it too, which I don't know if it was the main purpose or not, was you don't fuck with mothers. When you're trying to take their kid or whatever, mothers would just, and in real life, like they have some serious strength in terms of everything, mental, physical, whatever it is, when them being postpartum. So yeah, I still think it was a bit OP, but it was a cool scene. It was really cool. Like to push someone like Galactus, who is obviously so big, but not only so big, so strong. But the motherfucker like eats planets, like he devours planets. Like that's where he gets his energy from. And for her to be able to force you push him with a bit of help from the others, not a lot of help to be honest. Like Thing kind of fucks up his balance, and Johnny's trying, and he's going to sacrifice himself, and that was. I'll jump to that bit too. That's what I was saying about things that are predictable, but it's okay for the story. It didn't ruin my experience that Johnny was going to sacrifice himself. But of course, the Silver Surfer does, because he made her realize that she'd pretty much, even though she was saving her planet, she sold herself and kind of is helping him destroy like millions upon billions of people over the journey, even though she saved her planet in a selfish way. But, it's a very interesting discussion. The same as like the discussion of, would you give up your own baby to save, millions and or billions of people? It's an interesting question. I think the movie kind of handles that really well, handles the question and, kind of the answer really well. Everyone's saying, everyone but one couple or a family of 4 people are saying sacrifice the kid because it's not theirs, but as soon as it become their choice, that they would make the same choice as what the Fantastic Four made. So, but yeah, going back to the predictable scene, like it was built up to that, obviously, Johnny reaching out. Like Johnny has, I think, the best arc and the best story of the film, like 100%. I think the Thing wasn't given heaps. He had his scenes with obviously the woman that's going to be his love interest, and we'll see that unfold. I think one of their scenes got cut, unfortunately, which I would have loved to have seen to add to his story, because he kind of got pushed aside, whereas Reed was given a bit of a story, but his wasn't as compelling. It kind of felt as though he was taking us on one of his, like on his science TV show. I just wasn't compelled anytime he was being smart or talking about the science of things. And look, it might have been dumbed down for people like me. You can't just do full science talk and go like full pledged with it and expect 100% of the audience to understand what the fuck is being talked about and what is going on. But I think, like I said earlier, Reed, him and his story left a lot to be desired. So we didn't see a lot of her. In terms of, like, there was a story of her gripping, like, and under the pressure of everyone wants her to sacrifice her son, which she's not willing to do, even though that she obviously believes that he is stronger than more than what they think he is. When they obviously do like the self scan of him in her belly and whatnot. So yeah, other than her being a mum and doing that amazing speech, that was one of the best scenes of the film, was when she's doing the speech to the creative people about choice and being family and her upbringing, her and Johnny's upbringing. I thought that was really, really good. But I think Johnny definitely had the most fleshed out, best story. He had great character development. His was kind of not wrapped up or anything like that, but his was started off and followed through really well in this film, that when they do future films, they can just keep adding to that character development, whereas I think the Thing's going to need a bit more. It's probably not going to happen in Avengers Doomsday, but their next maybe standalone film, he can get a bit more of character development and a bit more scenes with his love interest. And, we didn't see, and I know you can't fit everything into one film, but I wanted to see more of how he copes with, he's the only one that, physically and visually, he's the only one that's changed. I mean, the other 3 on first viewing look like normal people. They look like humans, not until they do their abilities. Whereas he always looks like this. He always looks like the Thing. I think the first movie, 2005, with Michael Chiklis as the Thing, did that really well with him. With his wife or his girlfriend, I can't quite remember, that he's ashamed to show her, and she pretty much neglects him and pushes him aside. And then he has that relationship with that blind woman, and that's his story. I thought that was a much better story. because Thing didn't really get one in this, other than being a second or third dad. He had quite a few good scenes with Johnny, but Johnny got to have a bit more of a story than what Thing did. And like I said, I know you can't fit it all in, but I think that's one of the things I think the first movie did better was definitely the storylines and the arcs. Even though they had to jam in the origins and post origins in the '05 version, I still think they did a really, really good job. I think this version of Johnny is a lot more likable than Chris Evans. I am not a massive, massive fan of Chris Evans' performance as Johnny Storm. It's not Michael B. Jordan levels are bad. I mean, that whole movie's just bad. The performances, writing, directing, everything about it. Whereas I don't think it was a bad performance, or not even maybe badly written. Maybe his dialogue, but I didn't find him as likable. Whereas Johnny, I thought, was so endearing, very likable, and very realistic as well. I feel as though like someone in his exact position would act the way that he does act. So I think that's very, very good decisions from everyone involved. I've already, banged on about Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal and, Julia Garner. Obviously, it's hard to judge a performance from someone that's covered, in silver, and you don't really get to see a lot of facial expression. But I thought her and the visual team and the director Shackman did a really good job of still showing enough emotion from her and the emotion in her voice. Like, this is when a performance is so good and so hard to do is, if you're under a mask or if your face is distorted or you're under a shit ton of makeup, but you're still able to show the audience your feelings and, all the different types of emotions you have. And I think Julia Garner did a really good job. She didn't have a lot of scenes or dialogue, but she did a really good job with what she was given. I thought, Ralph Ineson, like I said earlier, was just a great, great choice to voice Galactus. Recently saw an interview, he was saying that he actually based his voice on natural disasters, on like tsunamis and tumbling rocks. I think he said was his biggest inspiration for his voice and how it sounded with the dialect he was using and how he was saying each word. There's a phrase I'm trying to think of here that I can't, but just everything combined into one. I think he did an awesome job. I thought the visual effects for Galactus, like I said earlier, was awesome. Inside of his ship was really cool. Did a great job of the perspective of how small they are in that spaceship and how small they are compared to Galactus. I love the scene of, I think it happens twice, where Silver Surfer is obviously floating in the air on her surfboard and she's talking to like Galactus, and it's a long shot and you can barely see her, but because she's silver, you know that it's her and their voices are talking, and he's just so big on the left-hand side. And it's got a bit of dead space on the right, pun intended, and she's in the middle. Great shot. That was awesome perspective to show us. I thought, Galactus in the city. For some reason, I think Godzilla and all these big characters look better at night time, but I know it's harder to film and harder to see. I understand that, and obviously all the power was off to be able to supply the black hole. I understand that, but there was something just would have made it a bit better if it was like at night time or dusk or dawn or whatever. But that's just a me problem, honestly. That's just nitpicking. But yeah, the music was good. Left a little bit to desired that they played the same score or same song, whatever you want to call it, quite a bit, but that's okay. It wasn't annoying and didn't ruin my experience. I just, as opposed to Superman's soundtrack with the original score and also the licensed songs they played, but that they don't have to play licensed songs or anything. They did a couple of times though. You don't have to. Like that doesn't make a good nor a bad film. It's all relative to that film. But that left a little bit to be desired. I thought the cinematography, the costuming, the set decoration was all like really quite good. I can see this movie doing pretty well in nominations for the second annual Golden Goose Awards, announced at the end of the year, and then the winners will be announced early next year. So make sure you keep up to date with all that at the end of the year. And let me know what categories you think this movie should be nominated in at the Golden Goose Awards, if any. So please let me know that. I thought the action, probably my favourite action scene, other than the climax, that was obviously the highlight in terms of action. I thought the chase scene of when they flee Galactus's spaceship and the Silver Surfer is pursuing them in the light speed. I thought that was really, really cool. That it looked awesome. And then when they pretty much make her get sucked into a black hole or wherever it's wormhole, whatever you want to call it, was really quite cool. The whole action scene was really good, and that's obviously whilst Sue Storm is obviously giving birth as well. So a lot of action on the edge of your seat. That's probably the only time I was on the edge of my seat in the movie, just because you know that Franklin the baby wasn't going to be devoured by Galactus, and Galactus wasn't going to win, and you knew that he wasn't going to be defeated or killed. He was kind of just teleported somewhere, which is really, really good. It's a really good decision they didn't decide to somehow kill him, because he's too strong, he's too big, he's OP as fuck. That it was kind of a switch of their original plan was, yeah, they wanted to just move themselves and run away from him, but they pretty much flipped the script and thought, nah, fuck you, we're going to drop you into the outer reaches of space without your spaceship, so good luck surviving. We'll obviously see him in the future, I'm assuming. Once Avengers Doomsday is done, I assume he could be like a really good Avengers villain. But how you do that differently than this movie, that he just wants to devour a planet and they try and stop him, or he tries to devour a baby, like, that'd be maybe hard to do because his motivations are quite linear, as opposed to something like Doomsday, or Thanos was quite linear as well, but he had quite a big set of hurdles to get over to get to his goal, whereas Galactus usually can just rock up to a planet and eat the fucking thing. So we'll see how that plays out, but he's definitely going to rock up at some point. Same as the Silver Surfer, but I would say I would leave that for a long time because you've got to give time for them to find somewhere to be, after being black hole to middle of nowhere in space. So, yeah, that was a good choice. I think sometimes in some movies when the villain's OP and whatever, and the way they find the way to kill or whatever the villain, that's not believable because Galactus, like I said, he's OP as fuck. Like, as opposed to Thor nearly beat Thanos, but he didn't because he didn't go for the head. So those are good decisions that you want to do. So heaps else I want to talk about, but overall I enjoyed the film. Would I recommend it? Look, we've been spoiled through the absolute arse in July. If you love it, you hate it. It's a great cinema experience, but Jurassic World Rebirth was the first one. Then we had Superman, which I can guarantee you is already going to be in the top 5 favourite films of 2025 for me, for sure. If this makes it, probably not. I don't know. But, excuse me. Thought Superman knocked it out of the park. Then you have I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I think disappointing at the box office and also critically and from the audience as well, was they were hoping for this big summer, pun intended, blockbuster horror movie, which we've gotten in the past. It didn't quite hit the mark, but it still did really well at the box office. It's going to make back its money on digital as well. I think, not the best movie, but then you have, Fantastic Four as well, First Steps. Oh, I forgot about F1 as well. That might have been end of June, sorry. But about that 5-6 week block, we've been really spoiled. And if you love going to the movies and having just great cinematic experiences, like me and my friend did watching this movie, and we also did with Superman, go to the movies, go watch these movies, go in IMAX if you can. I don't have that ability, unfortunately. The closest IMAX theatre to me is about 5 hours away, unfortunately, either way, to Adelaide or Melbourne. So, yeah, bit of a shame, but still, we have a great locally owned cinema here with 3 big screens, all different size cinemas, but the screens are all really big. So I really enjoyed it. It was great. It was fun. And unfortunately, at our local cinema, we don't get a lot of the marketing in terms of the popcorn buckets, the drinks, and all that type of stuff. We get ones here and there, but not a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll probably jump into some trivia for this film, as we always do here in Goose Talks Film, if there is any, which there should be. There usually is. It's been out for over a week. No, just under a week, sorry. I apologise. Trivia. Okay. Matt Schuckman reveals the film takes place on Earth 828, which is named after Jack Kirby's birthday, August 28th. There you go. That's really good. A lot of people were confused. I don't know if it says it and me and my mate missed it, or it was spoken and we missed it. But a lot of people were confused. It's set in the 60s, but it's also futuristic. It's because it's different Earth than what we live in and what majority of the Marvel characters live on. So bit of clarity on that. The Excelsior rocket, which Reed, Ben, and Susan and Johnny Storm take to space, was named after the catchphrase Marvel founder Stan Lee. In the comics, the rocket was named Marvel 1. There you go. I didn't realize the Marvel 1 thing, but obviously the Excelsior was 100%. Everyone knew that. Shia LaBeouf was created by Stan Lee and John Buscema for the first Silver Surfer comic book series. Its premiere issue being released in August 1968. In the mainstream comics, she is depicted as the love interest of Norrin Radd, the original Silver Surfer. Radd's version of the Silver Surfer previously appeared in the 2007 live-action film Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. So there you go. Been around a long time. The Herbie robot was portrayed through a combination of a wooden puppet, a remote-controlled animatronic with a functioning head and arms, and a computer-generated imagery. Yeah, I thought it looked practical, but too good practical to be all practical. All key actors from the first Fantastic Four movie have cameos, including Alex Hyde-White, Reed Richards, Jay Underwood, Rebecca Stabb, and Michael Bailey Smith. There you go. Wonder who has. Because I've never seen it. I've seen maybe pictures. I haven't even seen any clips of that film. Matt Schuckman shot the film with as many practical effects as possible, using 2001: A Space Odyssey as an influence. Yeah, I could see that, actually. Yeah. A specific desert rock, nicknamed Jennifer by the crew, was filmed on set as a lightning reference for the VFX team for The Thing. That's pretty cool. The Yancey Street set was based on New York City's Jewish areas in the early 20th century, as a homage to the Fantastic Four creator Jack Kirby, who grew up in that area. Yeah, I could say that. Yeah, no, that definitely comes through for sure. That's really cool. Pedro Pascal studied an octopus to get an idea of how to convincingly display Mr. Fantastic's elastic limbs. Throughout the movies, signs can be seen for a company called Timely Comics. This was the original name of Marvel Comics. Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was called, but yeah, I did know that. This is the last one we'll do. Marvel Studios regained the film rights to Fantastic Four after Disney bought most of 20th Century Fox films and TV assets, including franchises. All right, so a bit of a shorter episode today, but I thought I pretty much got through everything I wanted to say. And like I said, it's different than Superman. I'm a DC guy, so I'd read a lot more of Superman's comics and knew more of the source material and whatnot, and loved the movie a bit more than this, so I had a bit more to talk about. Whereas this, we're just under 40 minutes. But yeah, please let me know what you thought of this movie. Did you like it as the 05 version, the 07 sequel, the Josh Trank movie? I don't think anyone likes that movie. Yeah, let me know what you think. Is it what you wanted from a Fantastic Four movie? I think the answer to that question for me is a yes. I think it is what I wanted. A lot of action with a good story. It's good that it's currently, obviously, it won't be for long, but separated from all the other Marvel characters. It's on a different Earth, so they can do different things. They can do the futuristic thing, but also being a retro and vintage. Worked really well. They made really cool costuming and set decoration. It made it look different than other Marvel films. Cinematography was great. Some of the shots were awesome. The long shots and establishing shots were done really, really well. So yeah, please let me know, either from a comment here on YouTube if you're watching the video version. If you're listening to this version, please let me know, either with a DM or a review. Or I think you can do comments on Buzzsprout, which is my hosting provider. So, yeah, making sure you follow me on Instagram and Facebook under Goose Talks Film. And make sure you are following and have notifications on, or I should say subscribed, over on YouTube. Of course, Goose Talks Film, I am called that everywhere, so it's not confusing. It's fairly well streamlined. Yeah, make sure you are turning on notifications and you are subscribing on YouTube, because I do exclusive videos on YouTube that are obviously only on YouTube. So if you don't want to miss out on them, making sure you are doing those things. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. And like I said, thank you so much for the support the last week or two. Final Destination Bloodlines had broken a couple of my records, but Superman just eclipsed all the records previously. And I think it owns every record now that I have over on Goose Talks Film on any platform I am available on. So yeah, making sure you're following, subscribing, anything, blah, 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 all that machismo. That's my own word. As I always say here on Goose Talks Film, make sure you support your local cinemas and theatres, and yeah, making sure you watch those movies, guys.